You guys give it thumbs up if you're able to hear me. Are you guys able to hear me? You can give a thumbs up in the comment box. We'll just wait for a couple of more minutes before other people join. Excellent, Navin. Thank you for joining. Awesome. Thank you, Vaishali. I hope everyone is doing well. Okay, let me see. All right, good guys. I, I, I think you will be able to hear me now. Clear? Yeah. We'll start. So, yeah, today's session that we're going to do discuss about workflow automation through Google Appsheet. Yeah. So this is going to be a series of multiple videos that we're going to do. We can't cover everything in one video, so probably we're going to run this video for 1 hour. Then we'll head for the next episode. So let's quickly look at what we are going to learn today. Yeah, so we're talking about Google Cloud Automated Workflow Management. That's Google AppSheet. Let's look at the agenda today. So we'll quickly look at the introduction of what Google AppSheet is all about, and then we will look at certain use cases. One of the applications that I have created as a demo purpose, and then we will start building an app. Right. So first thing that we'll go, what is AppSheet? Now Google AppSheet is nothing but a no-code platform to build multiple apps. This is officially part of Google Cloud Services, and it's though we're going to show one application which I built as a quality monitoring transactional application, but this app has a much more higher potential. There are multiple use cases that you will be able to search online or within AppSheet platform itself. Yeah. So let's have a quick look what is Google AppSheet is all about. So if I go to this, I'll quickly show you. Uh, this is the URL that we will need to type. That's AppSheet. Now, if you're logging for the first time, it will ask you for the authorization or access. So you must sign in with your Google account. This is freely available, so you don't need an paid account or Google Workspace account to access AppSheet. However, there will be certain limitation. There is only certain kind of app that you will be able to uh, publish through your AppSheet with your free account. Uh, to use it for maximum potential, you will have to have a Google Workspace account. But for your trial purpose, for your learning and experiment purpose, you can always use that. For the first time when you log in, it will ask you for these access. If you click allow, then it will take you to the AppSheet account home. All right, so that's the demo monitoring app. These are the app that has been already created. So if I click on that, that's going to take us to the AppSheet that we built as in demo purpose. So at the start, it opens up. Okay, so it will show how does the app interface look like. All right. Let's say if you want to click new audit, this is the form which will open, which is similar to Google form. However, there are certain advantage we'll see when we create one. Uh, Google form has certain limitations. We have much more better user control here, uh, and a certain functionality that we can use in AppSheet. So this is how the form looks like. Once we fill that form and save it, it automatically goes to this particular sheet, which is the backend of this particular app, and all the records are stored here. There is a certain structure to all the data that we will discuss when we start to build an app. Uh, and eventually, once this is done, what we do is with uh, we showcase the entire report with Google Data Studio. Okay, so which is Google Studio. If I log into my Google Studio account, I will be able to see that app. Okay, let's see where is that demo monitoring. Yes, that's the one. Okay, so all the responses would be here. I need to change that duration because I don't think we put anything on June month. But if I go to say March data and select March here, I'll be able to see the entire dashboard, the audit record that we have submitted on there. So that's going to be the end-to-end product that we're going to build in a couple of next sessions that we discuss. Okay, so quickly now we will move on to yeah, of course we'll see these things in much more details. How do we develop these dashboard? How we entirely develop the app sheet. So today we're going to start with that the app sheet form itself. We will start right from the scratch so that you can understand. You can leave your comments if you have any questions or doubt, and I will be happy to come back to you with an answer. Okay, so first thing first, that we need to set up that entire form, uh, whatever field that we want to have, uh, we're going to set it on the Google sheet itself. Okay, so there are a couple of key information there. Just for the interest of the time, I'm not going to do all this. I'm simply copying this entire header row, and then I will create a new spreadsheet and paste the entire column or the header. Okay, I'll quickly name this app. I will mention the date so that I remember 2nd July. That's going to be the sheet name. Now remember, whatever name you have given here, that's going to be the name of your app as well. So couple of very quick thing or important thing is number one, you must add this field as an audit ID or a specific unique ID that you are going to use for this application because this is going to be the key of your app while you build any relationship with further data sets. Second point, second column that we have mentioned is audit date and time. This is going to be the exactly time and date where the form will be submitted. So I'm not going to go through all these. Just for your quick reference, I have given approximately 5 to 6 parameter, basic parameter that we use for all Google monitoring form. Uh, you can add more parameters or you can further bifurcate these parameters into multiple things. But one thing you need to keep in your mind that you cannot have uh, you cannot have the same name twice. So your column name has to be unique. Yeah, Naveen has a question. Is it replacement of Google Sheet? No, it's not replacement of Google Sheet. Neither we are replacing Google Form, but there are certain limitations that you will face in Google Form. For example, you will not be able to calculate the score or you can't put any calculation in Google Form. In order to do that, you will need to know the certain app script programming that you can code within that Google form and you can use it. Otherwise, in general, Google form will not give you any code there. So we're not replacing Google form. We're just using a much more advanced version of Google form through the app sheet. I hope that answered your questions. Okay, so for here, if you see, like I was saying, that we can't have duplicate column or same name for two different columns. So if I'm giving this parameter name as an opening, I can't have opening again. So I mentioned it as an opening underscore comment. So I need to ensure that I have separate comments, yeah, separate name for each and of one of these columns. And while we would define score pattern for all these fields or all these parameters, we will also be calculating those score. So here, if you see, I have given different score name, which is basically the same meaning with underscore score added to it. Okay. So I have created a basic form. Still, it's approximately 37 rows that we have, column we have. Uh, but yeah, you can create more and use it as you want to, create your form. So that's going to be your first data set of your app, and that's going to be the backbone. So this is where all your response would get saved. So we can name it as responses. Okay. Then there will be certain array data set that you can add to link different user. So some of the things that we generally use is agent reference number, agent references, or I can mention as user details, and I will add another sheet which is agent details. Okay, So what is user details? This is where you are going to put all the user who is going to use this app to submit their audit responses. Okay. Again, I'm not going to write down everything, but yeah, I'm going to use this particular and just copy and paste. Now, if you see, I have mentioned the name as well as the email addresses that I'm going to use here, and then I'm defining their role. So just keep in mind that we are defining the user role. We will use it not in today's session, but for tomorrow when we restrict certain user with certain feature based on the kind of user you have. So probably when you are, if you are a quality manager, you probably want to see all the responses. You want to have the access to edit right as well, or delete any audit, but you don't want to allow the frontline QAs to use that option. So therefore, you need to define these role and use that role as a settings or filtration process that we will learn in our upcoming videos. Yeah. For the agent details, we are going to use the same mapping. This is more to uh, have the mapping where these agents lies and what is going to be their supervisor name and what is the different department and all these mapping. So it is going to be similar to VLOOKUP that we do. So what app will is going to do, we are going to create a reference for these details, and whenever we capture this information or capture these, use these agents name, these are the uh, details which will come in our calculation automatically, and we can use it for further modifications. That is what we are going to do. Yeah, we can add multiple tables, but one key thing here to remember, uh, your app, when you create the app from this particular sheet, it's always going to be your app field will always going to come from the first sheet. So your audit form should be always on the first sheet, like here. If you move it to another field, it will not take. So whatever is the first sheet in your Google sheet, that's the field it's going to replicate into your app. Okay, there are multiple ways how you can create an app with this field or convert all these fields into your app. But the most quick way is Google Sheet now has already added that to your extension. And once you are happy with all the columns and header with all these settings, you can quickly go to Tools, sorry, Extension, and then click on here, Appsheet. Now, this is not an added extension that I have installed. You don't need to install it. It's automatically or by default is there with the current version of Google Sheet if you're using. Okay, so I can quickly, if I just click on create app, it will automatically create an app. Yes, of course, we'll need to do the customization. We'll need to go for further enhancement, calculation, modification. But till this, this is the first step of your creating your app. I hope everything is um, till now there is nothing more complex. It's simple for you to understand. Yeah, of course, once this live session is over, probably I'm going to upload that video again. So if you have any doubt, you can come back to here, pause the video here, and do these steps by yourself and before you go further. Yeah. So that's the setup. That's a very important part of your application. Three things that I would like to go back again before I go to the next step. Number one is this particular field audit ID or any sort of unique ID that you will have to have in your entire data set so that you can use it as a further reference or a data key, data connection key. So that's very important. If you don't have this, Appsheet will automatically create one and it will be errorful. Yeah, so it starts to give certain errors. Therefore, it's you need to create that at your first column itself. The second thing is your column name. These should be unique. It cannot be uh, duplicate. Okay. And third thing is the field that you are going to use, the core data set that you want to have into your app, that should be always sitting at the first tab of your Google Sheet. Okay. So yeah, if you're going to rewatch this video, take a pause here, do all these steps again, and then go further. Okay. So now I'm going to use this sheet. I don't need to select on a specific column or row. I can simply go to extension, click on app sheet, and create an app. As soon as I click it, it's going to take a couple of moments before it creates an automatic app for you, and it will then ask you whether you want to do customization or not. Yes, we want to do the customization. Okay. And if I go ahead and click, this is the front row. Looks like, yeah, customize your app. And what we show you here, that this is the front end view, but here this one is your backend view. Okay, so this is where a particular table or responses we are already connected. You see there is no data connected yet. We need to connect all these data sources separately. Okay. Now, if you have previously used Appsheet, there is a different view as well. This is the latest view, but I can always choose the legacy view as well for you to see all these options. For me, I will close this one and use the new view only. Okay, this is the preview of your app. Whenever we make changes, it will appear here. So for now, all these parameters that if you see, if you click here, you will be able to see. Now, the app sheet is quite smart when it comes to these expressions. So they have already created an unique ID for this. Since you have given this, even without defining it, it has already given you these options. These are the parameters that we have listed out there. All the fields are appearing here. No expression is added, and this is where we will come and customize them. Okay, so I'll quickly cancel this. I will minimize this tray so that I can have a full view. This is the response tab data that we are working on, and if you see, this is why I was saying that this particular field is so critical, that it says audit ID. Okay, because AppSheet is going to use that key, and if you see, it has already mentioned as unique value or unique ID. That's the expression that we are going to use. Yes, we'll start building expression now. We'll touch base with the expressions that AppSheet uses to calculate this field and formula. But yeah, AppSheet has automatically, smartly tried to understand. Okay, this is probably what we want to gauge, and this is what they have already given us. By default, all the fields are, show uh, an editable mode. It's not marked as required, but we will use that whenever it's required. So yeah, we'll keep it like this for now. Now, before I go into, we will also bring some other tables that we already had created here, like this user table and agent details table. Yes. So if I go to AppSheet, if I click on the add a new data, it automatically shows, okay, these are the table which exist in your data set. So yeah, you can, whether you would like to add those details or not. Yeah, I will click on yes, add this data set, user details, add this table. All right, it says email ID. That's the unique name, which is fine. We can use it as a unique name. We can use username as a label. And then, yes, let's add another data set. Yes, add agent details as well. So it gives you a warning because here, the key and all these data are sensitive. So these are the warning. That's absolutely fine. We can still proceed with that. It just AppSheet is giving a warning that these are specific individual information, whether you like the AppSheet to access these details or not. Yeah, if we are using it within our infrastructure, obviously we have to give it access. So yeah, we are okay with it. Now there is nothing much to do here. Uh, these are associated table. We are just using it to look up certain values. So our main action would be on the response sheet. Okay, now I'm back to the response sheet again. Unique ID. Okay, if I click here, that's the expression assistant. This is where we write down all the formula or the expressions. There are multiple sections here, or different expressions that we can use. I'm not going to go through all these expressions. We are rather going to use it while we do, and as in it when it is required, we are going to use them. So two important thing is one is example. This is where we can use these formulas. We can pick up this formula and the references. Other section is data explorer. So I don't know, they don't allow it to increase the screen size, but yeah. So all the data set that we have added is going to appear here. I can collapse this. This is the response. This is the agent data field. This is our user ID. So this is spent as my app front view. Okay, and when we relate these details or link these information, we can use this directly from there, and it will automatically create the expression. So we'll see that in a minute. For now, we'll keep this formula as it is. So let's save. Okay, now here if you see here, this is where what we are saying is the type is date. Yeah, this is what AppSheet has recognized, but I don't want only the date to be captured. I want it to capture the time as well. I can ignore the seconds. I don't need the seconds. Uh, I don't want to use the long format as well. But yes, we are going to use date and time. Auto compute is the field. This is where we add all the formula. Now the both the field works the same way. App formula as well as initial value. Uh, but for best practices or for this particular application, all the formula that we are going to use, we are going to put it under initial value. We are not going to put it under app formula. Again, I'm saying both the field works gives us the same benefit, but why we are using it in a separate initial value rather than app formula? Because the app is designed, the app that will create here would need an edit. So, for example, when I created an audit, I want some other people to take further action on that form. So, if you are using it in the app formula, every time you take that action, the form will change. Every time the all the entries or these values would automatically get changed as per your new edit timeline or new edit time. So, which we don't want. We want the initial value to be kept as fixed, and there will be certain value that we would want to change based on our actions. So that's why we're going to use it for later. So we want to have that better control, which field I want the initial value to be captured and which field I want that to get updated. So that's why everything formula we are going to use under uh, initial value for now or for this particular application. Now there are different formats that we can use. By default, it was taken today, and it will show you only the date. So if I don't want that, now since we said that we also want date and time, so I can simply select this function. I will remove this and add this function. So if I even click insert, it automatically takes that formula. So this is that super smart and super easy for you to use that formula. It gives you okay time now. This is uh, what it's going to return as a value. And then I click on save. Update behavior is not required for this one. Editable reset on edit. We don't want that. Editable, of course, it's editable. Display as level, whether we want to show it or not. Yes, we will keep it as a default. Other properties, whether we want to use it as a searchable option or not, whether you want to search your audit records with this particular timestamp or not. Now, obviously, we're not going to do that. We have some other fields that we can use as a searchable or scannable option. For now, we are good with this formula or expression. So, yeah, it is editable. Do we really want to show it? So if you now see this, if I expand this and do this, so you can see the time and it gives an option for the user to edit it, which I don't want. So all I'm going to do here, I'm going to hide it from the user because these are the information which has been built automatically. Yeah. So we don't want it to appear in the form. Let's say. Okay, so if you see now it's not showing. Previously you were able to see the audit ID uh, and the audit date and time. Now if I click on uncheck this box for show, it does not show. Okay, that's how we're going to keep it. We'll do it for some other parameters as well. Okay, let's save this one. It gives you again a warning that it's hidden, so you'll not be able to search that information, which is okay. We're fine with it. Okay, but if in your case, if you want to show it, you can show it. Okay, user email again. If I click on this pencil icon, it takes me to this. It's marked as show. It says as an email. Yes, this is going to be an email. Uh, Data validity is not required for this. Again, it's obviously it's a required field. Under auto compute, we have the F formula and the initial value. So formula that we are going to use here is a username. Okay, so I think it's there under yes. So user email. Yes, that's what we're going to use that as an expression. So what we are telling the app sheet is whosoever is the person who is now logged in and using this particular app use their email address. So by login email address which I am with by which I have logged into this application is going to be used as an uh, my user email. So it automatically taking that calculation. Okay, let's click save. Again, I don't want to show. So if I click here, if you see, this is my email address, which is going to be used here. Okay. I don't want to show this, so I'll quickly uncheck this. It doesn't show, but I would show them the username. Okay. Username is name. Now, this is not we're not going to use it as a name feature. This is where your expression starts to get complicated. We're going to use a lookup function. So if you remember, we had created a table which says user details. These are the information that we will pull from this particular table to this field. So instead of name, what we're going to say is that we want to refer something else. And as soon as I put that as a reference field, it gives me an option to search the table. So AppSheet is now asking you want to use this field, but where you want me to look in. So and these uh, these are all the sheets that we have. So we're going to select the information from which we're going to pull this or look up these values for, which is in this case, which is user details. Rest is fine. Now we are going to add a formula to it. So under auto compute, if I go again, we can use this formula under app formula, but we're going to use it as initial value. Now this is where you can write down this formula. You can use this formula, but AppSheet is now smart and it gives you an option to directly link that. So you don't need to write the expression uh, with memorizing the formula. Okay, and that's the concept. That's why we initially said it's a no code platform. So the code is been written at the background as we use this. So this is more a UI that we are using. So if I now go to the data explorer, which I discussed earlier, this is where we are going to link it for. So what I want here, an expression that will use my user email and return me the value of the username, right? So this is what is my user email is, and I want this user email to be looked upon and give me this particular name. So that the user don't need to write that. So and that information is available with us in user details. So if you see, the user email is a key here, and what I want is username to be returned. So if I click on insert, if you see, AppSheet has now automatically created an expression. Yeah, but it is not linked yet. Therefore, it gives you an error. The column name username is an expression, does not contain as a reference. Yeah. So reason why it shows is, if I quickly cancel this, it's flat. Say, now I will go back again here. Now it has the user details being added under auto compute. Okay. Oops, if something went wrong. It's not able to calculate the data. Let me see that. Doing it. Okay. So I don't think the data is connected here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to write down that expression manually. Okay. So if I go back here, and this is what we are going to use it as a reference. Okay. So I made a mistake here that we are using this as a username as a reference. That's why it's not being able to link it. This is not going to be a reference. This reference, it's going to be same as name. Let's save this one. Reference field is going to be this one because that's how we're going to refer it to. User details. If you still see, even if I'm using it as a reference, I can still use it as a username. Save it. So now we have linked that particular data set. And if I now go to username, I put it as a name under auto compute. Again, I go to that expression builder and put this name. So now you see the expression is different, and now it's been able to look it up. So how it looks up is, first is take the username, user email from this particular data set, which is here. And if you see, it's already showing me a direction. Yeah. So this is the user email. Then it goes to the other table, which is our user details tables, and put that username in here. So it looks the value for user email and then returns the value of username. So now if I save it, click on done. All right. So now if you see it, it is showing me this option. Okay. Do I want the user to edit it? No, I don't want that. So once we select this option, it will automatically be grayed out. Okay, so once more, I'm going to close this span and move forward. Okay, agent ID. Again, agent ID is we are going to refer it. Now, if you see here, it asked me to write it down, but we already had a list of agents, listed out here with their unique name and IDs. Now, what I want is I want this to be created as a drop down there, so that I don't need to write it down. So how do we do it here? So if we go agent again in place of text, let me use it as a reference, and we're going to select the table again. Once more, it's agent details, and boom. That's all we need to do. Now, as soon as I do that, if you see, you will see the entire drop down list came as it. Now, remember one thing here is you don't see the IDs that you have selected. These are the agent ID which is there, but it's not showing them. It's directly referring to this particular row of information, which is the agent name. If you want it this way, you can do it this way, or if you don't want that, you want that same thing. In that case, you will need to make the changes here. So if I go back to the agent table, you see this is agent name is been marked as a level. So as long as you keep these marked as a level, it will continue to show this that information in that agent name. If I don't mark it as a level, I put this as a level, then that particular name and the ID that we want from the first row to be appear, it will appear in the drop down list itself. And if I, let's say, I don't want that, I want the label to be their email address, I can use that too. Okay. So that's the feature that we have here. That is how you can customize. In past, a lot of people have asked me that question, that even I have used that at the front row. I want to pull the agent ID, but it's not coming. It's something else is coming. So yeah, that's the secret behind it. So you need to select that as a table which you want to reflect in here. It doesn't matter what is there on the first row, but it's you always have to select the label itself. Okay, then I save it. I will go back to my response sheet here. User email as a reference, so user email would not appear, not required. I can only see the user name. Sorry, I was on the agent ID. Yes, I can now see all the agent ID in the drop down, and I can select that. So this is what I can select as a user ID. Interaction ID, I would keep it as a text. In case you have a long text, you can select as a long text as well. Okay. Yes, show it editable, and it is required as well. So we want to ensure that people don't skip that. As soon as I do that, you will see there is an asterisk button coming. Interaction ID, interaction date. Now again, it is the date. If you want it to switch it to date and time, you can do that. Then it it appears date and time as well. Okay. If you want to ignore seconds, you can do that. Okay. For us, yeah, we can keep it this way only. Okay. How it sees is it gives you the calendar. Automatically, it opens up the calendar for the user. They can select any particular date. Obviously, we cannot prepone. but we can see say previous day, and then we can select the timestamp as well. Okay. Okay, next is opening. So yeah, now we are going to create a drop down, but this time we want to create a manual drop down. We we don't want to use a long list, so I can create a enum list. So there are two different kinds of list function that you can use in AppSheet. One is enum and one is enum list. Let's use enum for now, and let's see how what the differences are. So here it asks me to what are the value that I want to use. I can use ELS. So for this purpose, we're going to use a simple drop down. I'll say pass. I will say fail, and I can also give a NA or not applicable. That's the simple usage that we want to use. We are not formulating it. This is for the user to input. Yeah. But what I can do is uh, I can I can put that initial value always marked as yes, so that it always shows me yes, or it is pre-select. Sorry, we use the function as name as pass, so we'll have to give it as a pass. So by default, it stays selected as pass, but obviously people can change it. Okay. Now, if you see, it's in the auto mode. I can use it as a button. So I'll quickly show you what's the different button. Now these, if you see the opening, it is showing as a button. We will save it so that it gives us the same stuff. Yeah. So if you remember, we selected pass as the initial value, so it will always show as a pass, and then I can always switch to these options as if I want. Okay. Uh, so when you see this, it shows as a button or parallelly. That's how it shows. But if you, let's say, if you don't want that, uh, you want to show it as a stack. You see the quickly this thing or the background scene, you'll be able to see the changes. If you want to see it as a drop down, that case you need to select it from that drop down. But for me, I like it in what button format. If your drop down list is less in number, you can always keep it as a button. Otherwise, you can choose the way you want. But yes. Okay. Now, I'm not going to do this thing for all. I'm going to do it the back end and come back with the next session. But before I go on, I want to show you one feature here on customization. So if you see, I have the opening comments, probing, all the comments fields are appearing by default, which I don't want. I want them to appear only when it's a tail. So this is what we are going to use it. I don't want the user to use these comments for every time. So I'm going to restrict the user. Okay. First thing is I'm going to make it editable. Yes, and required. So I made it required. So opening is required. So now if you see here under validity, it is marked as required. So user has to fail. Without failing this, the user cannot proceed. Okay. But for opening comments, what I want is obviously a long text whenever people want to use it. Yes, but here I would say required, but I will also put a restriction. I don't want a straightforward required, which was the earlier case. If you see the earlier option as an opening, it says checked as required, but here we are going to use an expression to restrict create that behavior pattern. When do we want that to be used? So for that, I'll go to expression. This is by default. If you say required if, so we don't need to mention the if expression, but we directly needs to give a condition. So how we do it is, if you see this expression yes no, uh, you'll get to understand. So yes, so here we can use this format. We can use this format. So yeah, let's use this format. Okay, so where it's saying opening, now this sign, this symbol is for not equals to. I'm going to change it to equals to. Okay, so I'm going to change. Okay, no. So I think the previous expression was good. So if it says if it is not equal to text value, now within this value, what I am going to put is as pass. So what I'm saying is, if it is pass, then don't show, or it's not required. But if it is pass, anything other value than pass, then only show it. So I can copy this one, this formula. I'm just copying it, and you see it. So save it. I also want that to be added in this show section. Okay. So now if you see the opening comments is not showing in our form. It's been removed because that's the condition that we have put in. But the condition that we put is that any other value than pass, it should be there. So if I, as soon as I go to fail, the opening comment section appears and I can write. If even for any, I can have it, but I can't have it for pass, right? So if you want this only for fail, you can use it as a fail. So we can go back here and I can mention it as equals to, and I can mention it as fail. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to make it required only in this particular option. Sorry, I was too quick, so so now if you see even on NA, it will, I'm sorry, I need to save it. Okay. By default, it's pass, so it does not show. If I select fail, it shows. If I select no, it doesn't also show. So that's the advantage of using, one of the advantage of AppSheet. Uh, we would have not been able to use this function or put this limitations restriction in our Google form. Yeah. So that's the advancement that we have here. So yes, I think we pretty much covered uh, how the basic expression works, how the enum list works, uh, what are the basic functions that we can put in. We also see how to restrict these fields. Uh, I'm going to cover all these before I come with our next session. Uh, so I'm going to put formula for all these, or build this drop down for all of those fields, and then we will start looking at those reference again, and we will start building the expression uh, for the score calculation using that expression. Yeah. So that is going to be all for tonight. Let's wait for the next session. Probably next week I'm going to arrange the session again where we will be covering the remaining sections. All right. So I hope you were clear enough. One task I would request, if you can, uh, watch this video again and see what are the steps that we do before your next session. You can create a similar copy of your own so that next time when you see, you can practice along with myself as well. So thank you for watching. Have a wonderful evening. Good night all.